Hello, Instagram peeps. As you're tuning in here, welcome to Finance Fridays at Home with Kardia. I'm excited for today. I get to interview one of my good buddies and just an incredible business person coming on here. So let me get Irf on with us, and then we'll kind of go over the details. Alrighty. Irf. So just for you guys to know who are tuning into At Home with Kardia's Finance Fridays, we do this every Friday, hence why we call it a daily event, a day event. And we're here to kind of share about different financial tips, tricks, different things that are going on in the world. And I am hoping to have Irf popping on. It's just saying connect. Are you... anybody seeing Irf popping on here? I got this thing. So as I'm waiting for him to jump on, we are talking today about being a business owner, being self-employed, and the taxation, the tracking, and things like that that are needed to be able to do that very successfully. If you guys can drop in the comments if you guys are hearing me and seeing me. I'm having some trouble here with getting my Irf on, so I just wanted to make sure that that's not just me. Or if it's there, we got a hand there saying that he can hear me fine, so that's good. Well, Irf's going to be on. It's looking like it's having some trouble jumping on, but we'll get him on here as soon as we can. What we're going to be talking about on today's Finance Friday is really about what does it take to be a business owner. We have a lot of subcontractors, a lot of freelancers, and people that are starting small businesses, and they're just kind of lost a little bit in how to get that going and what that looks like and how that works. And so what we're wanting to talk about today is how, when's the best time for you to incorporate your business, for example? When is the best time for you to be able to, how should you track things? Oh, there he is. How you doing, Irf?
Good. How are you?
Good, buddy.
Awesome. Can you hear me? Can you hear me properly?
I can hear you, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can hear you. Perfect. That is awesome. Well, good. Well, I was just kind of preempting everybody that we got our, episode 12. We're going to be talking about accounting, but more specifically, we titled it Like a Boss, Accounting Like a Boss, because we want to work with those, talk about freelancers, self-employed people, and what are the best ways and, some of the decisions that they need to make in their entrepreneurial journey. So, Irf, why don't you maybe share with everybody a little bit about your background, your entrepreneurial background, and what makes you excited these days, and then we can jump into some questions and whatnot.
You bet. So I like to consider myself the entrepreneurial accountant. So my whole life I've been an entrepreneur first. Went to U of C here in Calgary, and very quickly said I'm taking the business program, and from there had to decide if I wanted to go into accounting or finance because I knew I was a numbers guy. And the more I thought about it, I always went into accounting. And the reason was because accounting is the foundation of any business. And as an entrepreneur, it's crucial that you understand your numbers, you understand and track things properly. And so from there, throughout my university career, I always had some small businesses. But eventually we ended up, I finished my designation and started up RMI. And so we've been running this practice now for over almost 10 years. And yeah, we got a good team here. We got 15 people. I still have some other businesses as well. Purple Frog is another big one that we have, where we're doing all natural hand sanitizer and some variety of other products as well. So I keep my entrepreneurial passions alive.
That's awesome. And I think that's super important. I've kind of called Irf the entrepreneur's accountant for a while, and I think it's because he's been there, done that. I don't know, for a lot of you as entrepreneurs, what's super important is that if you're starting out, is to have an entrepreneur and an accountant that understands what it really means to be a contractor, self-employed, and what it means to actually run a business. A lot of accountants out there are just numbers people, so they don't understand the process of what it's like when you have tight cash flow some months and not the others, and you have things that are ups and downs and changes in your cycle on a constant basis. And so that's something that's super important. So Irf, why don't we jump right into it and ask the question, what is the number one thing that's an entrepreneur starting out, being their own boss, needs to understand about their accounting and tracking their numbers?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing is you got to start early and start and stay on it regularly. So the number one issue I see from self-employed contractors, freelancers, is they come to me after 2-3 years and say, okay, I got to get my accounting done because CRA is on my case. But the problem is they've not kept any money aside for GST. They don't know how much money they've made. They don't know how much taxes they owe. And that whole system there ends up putting you years and years behind just because you didn't do it from the get-go. Because now you're playing catch-up and the numbers can add up very quickly. So the most important piece for sure, get on bookkeeping from the day you open your business, track your receipts, make sure you stay up to date, know your tax deadlines, and stay on top of it.
No, that makes sense. So, because you're saying like a lot of times people weigh in, and I always joke and let clear full transparency. I remember our first businesses I had when I came to you, 5 years ago or so. It was a chaos. I was, as entrepreneurs, when you're starting off, it's like you have a business account, and then all of a sudden you start personal stuff goes in the business account, and business stuff in your personal account, and you're not tracking things properly. So I was a massive culprit to that too. I did that for many, many years, and it took us about 1 year to 2 years to clean that up in the books. And now I've understood the importance of that. Now being in the finance industry and running the multiple companies under the Kardia Financial Group banner, we keep our books down to literally the penny of where money is going in each of our divisions. And Irf can tell you, I'm ruthless on that now. And with the guidance of him and his team, we're able to do that. So that is something super important. And I'm glad that you've said that, is know your numbers early, get it going so that you don't have chaos in the future, right? Because have you seen that in business, the people that have clean books and clarity, that they were able to grow faster and expand faster? Have you noticed that in your path working with entrepreneurs?
Without a doubt, it gives you the ability to be able to make the right decisions, and you've got the data behind it to support it. And I know the challenge is when you start a business, the accounting and the bookkeeping is the last thing you want to be doing. It's not sexy, it's not exciting, it's not putting money in your bank. But a lot of times what people don't realize, even though it's an extra cost, it takes some time away from it. If you don't do that properly today, it's going to cost you 10 times more than anything else you do down the road. And so that's by far the most crucial thing. Get on it right away. Stay on top of it. And if you start it from day one, it's really not that much work. It's not that bad, and it doesn't take too much time. But the key is you got to stay on it from the get-go.
Yeah, no, that's personal. And also, I think it's looking at this format of is switching the mindset of that it is awesome and it is sexy and it is great to know your numbers and have confidence, right? I feel like, when you look at people in a relationship, for example, when your partner's confident and your partner's excited about life and they're going through, there's an attraction there. Well, it's the same thing in your business. If you know your numbers, you know where you're going, you know where you've been, that is very attractive to yourself, looking at your business, being excited for what you have, rather than chaos, right? And not understanding. And then we breed chaos in every aspect of our life. It's just kind of like when you look at somebody's car, is it a messy car or their bedroom or their different scenario? Well, the same thing in your business. We got to make sure that we're clean on the books and start there. But not everyone's as excited and stuff about money or about numbers as me and you are. So I get passionate about it, but that's just because I enjoy that process. Guys, just so when you're tuning in here, you are tuning into Finance Fridays. I'm here with Irf so he helps us with our Kardia accounting division and consulting there and helping us kind of help with people structure and structure their businesses and bookkeeping. And so drop comments or put the little question box there and ask any questions you have in regard to your business, accounting in your business. And we're going to make sure we answer those questions. So I just wanted to say that as people are starting to join in here and getting those in there. This is an open forum. We're talking. I love to ask Irf questions, but you guys can ask questions too from either myself or to Irf. My next thing for you too is there's a lot of confusion with people when they should maybe be a sole proprietor or be incorporated or just run it in their name. What's the difference? Where should people, when they're thinking about being self-employed or getting their business from the accounting standpoint, what are maybe some of those thresholds or guidelines? They might not have some, but I'll leave it up to you to maybe explain a little bit how people can think about setting up their corporations or doing sole proprietors and whatnot.
Yeah, you bet. So anytime you start a business, it doesn't matter what you do. If I go tomorrow and start shoveling somebody's sidewalk and get paid $10 for it, I started a sole proprietor business. Okay. So what's nice about sole proprietors, they're very easy to start. right? It doesn't take a lot of work. You automatically start one as soon as you start doing any type of exchange for money.
Okay.
They're much cheaper to run because you do the tax filings with your personal taxes. CRA doesn't care about your assets so much. They just care about how much money you're actually making. So your revenues and your expenses. The downside to it, though, is two things. One, it's the tax side, and the second is liability. And that's when we start to move people into incorporating. So the first piece is if your business has any type of liability, you may want to just incorporate for protection, because if you're a sole proprietor and somebody comes and sues you, they're going after your personal house, they're going after your personal car, they're going after what's in your personal bank account. They can go after all your personal assets. So if you incorporate, you're separating that liability between the company and yourself. So that's the first reason a lot of people incorporate. The second is a tax standpoint. In Canada, our personal tax rates are some of the highest taxes you pay, while our small business rates under $500,000 of profits are some of the lowest taxes you pay. So here in Alberta, anything under $500,000, you're only paying 11% tax. And so if you're able to keep money in your business, if you're able to take profits and reinvest it in your corporation, then you want to also look at incorporating potentially. Because what happens is if somebody makes $100,000, but they only need $50,000 to live off of, the other $50,000 can be invested back in their corporation, and you're only paying that 11% tax on it.
Oh, that's brilliant. So there's a couple of things here. One, is liability. If you're in a business that has any kind of potential liability, you're best to even incorporate right from the get-go, because then you're protecting yourself, protecting your family, and protecting your legacy, right? The last thing you want is for, if you're in the construction business or renovation business and you do some construction at someone and somebody slips and falls and hurts themselves, it could be completely not your fault. Like, you did good quality work, but they can still come after you for whatever reason, and they'll be coming after you personally rather than your business. So that's super. I really like that differentiate. And then also the people that are making a lot of money. I always talk about this in the financial advisor world. Once you start getting up to like that 80 grand to that plus, you should run it through your incorporation so we can have some tax savings and things like that for your business.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's great. There's lots of different structures you can come up with that ends up saving people a ton of taxes, good investments that people can put money into that helps them save money if they're investing through their corporate structure and different things like that. So there's a lot of different strategies once you start to generate, like you said, that 80,000 to 100,000 in revenue, and it's something you really want to start considering. But if you have any type of liability, for sure, it doesn't matter. Even if you got $1,000 of income, you may want to still consider incorporating because of that potential liability at the end of the day.
And that can come and haunt you later, even if it's after the fact. So if you ran it through your corporation, you're good. So if you started as a sole proprietor, you still have liability ongoing. You need to think about incorporating right off the get-go. So I like that. Into the nitty-gritty stuff, in the sense of like, what do people do with what's the businesses that you've done a lot of bookkeeping for, a lot of accounting and strategic planning with, Irf? What are the companies that are doing well? Even from starting off, what are they spending their money on? That initial money that comes in, what are you finding that they're spending that money on to make sure that they've built a long-lasting business?
Absolutely. So I think, like I said, the most important piece is you want to set a good foundation for your business, right? And so from there, a lot of times people will start their own business and they themselves are working in the business, which is great. But you want to make sure the money you're generating, you're keeping some money aside for yourself because you're still working. And then secondly, you want to make sure you're tracking your numbers. So you got to be spending some money on bookkeeping and accounting and making sure that's staying up to date. And then you want to, as your business grows, then you start to look at spending money more on marketing and those pieces to expand it further. But typically what we see a lot of times with contractors and freelancers is they're providing a service. So it's themselves. They find a good opportunity out there. They might have a couple customers or good friends they know are gonna take on their service. So right off the bat, you've got a good foundation of some income coming in. Yeah. So it's a matter of making sure you're doing everything else on the back end to establish a good foundation for that company. And then you can focus on growth and moving it forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good little reminder, right? So Irf's had a lot of experience working with hundreds of companies, right? And the ones that spend the time building that foundational stuff is the ones that actually survive through different times, right? And through circumstances and stuff that happens. Like we're in a crazy economic time right now with, you know, the pandemic that's happening. It's been so hurtful and unfortunate for so many people personally, and also business wise. And so if the people that really understand their numbers and can structure things better, they're able to last through times like this a lot easier than someone that just focus on a marketing aspect, right? I think you find that a problem a lot as entrepreneurs is that we just think of trying to like just focus on the sales and the bringing in more leads, and we might be really good at marketing. But the problem is all that stuff, when the leads dry up and the things happen, we don't understand what that means for our bottom line, so we can be going backwards really fast. And so we need to make sure we're in the plus, right? And that's something I've learned from Irf and his team is like running the multiple businesses that I'm part of, and all the companies that we have underneath the Kardia banner is like, we need to understand the numbers in each of those companies. And so we can adjust things and make sure that we're on the right track moving forward.
Sure. One of the big things too that you said, like right now we are in crazy economic times, but companies that create that foundation end up coming out of recessions ahead. And the reason for that is companies that are poorly managed are the ones that end up closing, and all that business ends up going to those well-managed companies. So really good companies actually grow more during a recession than they do during normal economic times.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting, right? Because they've spent the time and the energy making sure that they have stuff put together.
Absolutely.
Now we got a lot of people on here. You guys have to have some questions regarding entrepreneurship and some different things. We don't want to just be talking. I don't want to hog Irf's time. It's just me answering all. Just any kind of questions in regards to entrepreneurship and business wise and that type of thing. So before people kind of pop in there, because I know they will. Question for you: when it comes to software, what are some of the recommendations that you would give for a solo entrepreneur or startup or small business? What kind of tools and should they use to track all these things you're talking about?
For sure. So a lot of times I always recommend QuickBooks. We use that in our practice as well. Really easy and user friendly. A lot of people have heard probably about Sage. That's another really common one. The reason I push more people towards QuickBooks is because you don't need to be an accountant to understand it. You just need to understand your very basic transactions. What does it mean to write a check? What does it mean to receive money? What does it mean to invoice? And QuickBooks breaks it down in a very simple form. So you can always use something like QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online as well, which a lot of people are moving towards because it's available through your phone, online, anywhere you want. And so there's a lot of good features on that end there. The other thing to consider is if you're starting a sole proprietor, you're just doing a little bit of work on the side, you don't have liability. Sometimes you can even get away with just using Excel. So it saves you some costs. You have to make sure you're still tracking your income, track your expenses, but you can create a good spreadsheet that does that for you. And then you don't have any other additional expenses with it. So if you're doing something very basic, you can go Excel. But if you're doing something a bit more, you want to grow, then having that software established from the get-go is nice because you can start to see comparison reports as you get into years 2, 3, 4, 5 in your business.
That's awesome. And that's kind of one of the things you're saying. Like if you're planning on building a long-term business, you want to make sure like, hey, if you have really hard, tight cash flow scenarios, then yeah, you start with an Excel and you can kind of import that data later into QuickBooks. But if you're building something long-term, QuickBooks is not that expensive. Like it's like, 20-something bucks a month or something to have like a robust tool that can track your business. That's powerful. Exactly. I know for service-based businesses, you can run your quoting out of it. You can even take payment from your clients from it. Like there's a lot of things you can do within that platform. We use it with basically all of our businesses. It's pretty powerful. And on that point too about the tools and the tracking and stuff, also your receipts. I know we've built a pretty good system for us and for what we do within our companies with the help of you, or like, how would you tell people and what would you suggest for tracking those receipts?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. So from day one, as soon as you have your first receipt, a lot of times people ask me do I need to keep the actual receipt or is my credit card statement enough? And if CRA comes back to do an audit, they do ask you for your actual receipt. So it's good to keep them. You can depends on the type of person you are. If you're more paper oriented and you want to do just a typical filing system, you can set it up by vendor or by date. We don't have too many different vendors here at the accounting firm. So what we do is we have one miscellaneous one, but we track it by month. So if ever CRA came back and asked us what to do, we go to that month, we find the receipt. It's easy, it's accessible. A lot of people like to move online now. And when you're moving online, you can take a picture of that receipt, save it on a Dropbox folder, make sure you name it, what it's for, make sure you got the date there. Because at the end of the day, the most important piece is you got to be ready. If CRA comes back or your accountant comes back or somebody comes back and says, what was this receipt for? You want to be able to access it very easily, and that's the key.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for us, as a tip for you guys, what I do, and I do it for all of our receipts, I can search any day of any year of any type of receipt by simply putting in the date of what it was and then even the amount. So what I do is I go the date of the receipt, and I go by the first two letters of the year. I mean, first two numbers of the year, first two numbers of the month, first, and then the two numbers of the day. And the reason why I do that, I go year, month, days, because then when I sort it in the online style, it will stack from the new, like the newest to oldest or oldest to newest in chronological order, which you can be able to do. And then I go a little dash and I put the amount with no number symbols, none of that. I just put the amount plus the cents, right? And if there's no cents, I just still put .00 because it keeps the format the same. Then I do another little space and I put what it's for, right? And so what is it? What was that receipt? Was it a meal? Was it accounting software? Was it whatever it is? Just put that in there. Now in the future, when the CRA or accountant says, "Hey, what was this? You spent $2. You spent something. It was $29.55." Well, I could literally just type in $29.55 and on my search on my computer in Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever you use, and bam, it pulls up. I got that exact, and I can sort through, say, oh, it was on this day. This is what it is. Super simple to do, and you can do it right from your phone. You just take the picture, turn it into a file, name it right there, and you'll be able to have that on there. So that's something that's super important for your tracking. And so I do that. We can give you guys some comments and some opportunities there. Also, that spreadsheet that Irf said, if you're looking for that, just drop us a direct DM, and we'll make it, because that's super important. And that's when we look at that from the businesses and the tracking and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, what's the next level when it comes to accounting and tracking that it has? After we've got the foundation built, we got a bookkeeping software or Excel. What are kind of the next steps that people should take when it comes to tracking in their finance?
For sure. So you want to make sure you're doing what we call our reconciliations every month. So typically you'll get your credit card and your bank statement every single month or at the end of the month. You want to reconcile that, which the systems are really good at helping with, to make sure you've accounted for all your transactions. A lot of times as your business grows, you want to make sure your automated transactions. A lot of people, if you're paying insurance, for example, that comes out automatically every month. Make sure those are being recorded. A lot of times what happens is startup business owners, they rely on their bank to say, okay, I've got this much money in there, I can pay out these bills. But what's more important, if you're tracking your books properly, you can rely more on your actual bookkeeping software to tell you how much money you have. Because if somebody gives me a check today, but I don't cash it for 2 months, then that money is really not in your bank account anymore, but your bank will tell you it is. And so keeping your reconciliations up to date, making sure all your transactions are picked up, that's the next key for sure. Once you have that in place, you can now start to analyze your reports. You can do monthly, month over month comparisons. You can do year over year comparisons. You can start to see, do you have seasonality in your business? Are you busier in the months of February and March versus November and December? All that kind of data you can start to analyze, which helps you make better decisions as you grow your business going forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, you said a bunch of things there about like just tracking and being able to put it between, make sure like the numbers thing, that's a big thing that happens, right? Whereas like you have a check or you have a money or an invoice that's payable, that's not going to show up in your bank account. So if you have that in our system, you can track your bills when they're due, that type of stuff to be able to go through. So I know a lot of people are listening and they're like, oh, this seems like there's a lot. Like, I'm not an accountant. I'm not this, person who understands all these numbers. I'm just really good at, selling this widget, or I'm really good at mowing lawns or running a small business at whatever they're doing. And they're kind of feeling overwhelmed by this. So when would be a good time that a business owner could hire a bookkeeper, and what realistically does that even cost? I think a lot of times people may think that costs a lot. What does that look like for people?
For sure, yeah. So typically right off the bat, if you know it's not something you're going to be able to manage, you're not going to be able to stay on top of it, engage the bookkeeper right away. Your cost for a bookkeeper typically maybe around a couple $100 a month. It's always volume driven, but they're not expensive. If you can go and save yourself 5-10 hours a month of doing something you don't enjoy and go out there and service your clients, pick up some new clients, and do what you are having fun doing, it's well worth that expense for sure. And then you've got that data there, everything's being tracked for you, and you got that information. So when you do sit down with your accountant, or once you've got some good knowledge of how the numbers look, you can start to make good business decisions to help your business grow.
That's awesome. And I find I'm a business builder. I know you are too, Irf. I know we talk about that. So sometimes we just take some of this stuff for granted, right? But for you guys, some of you that are listening, there's a solo entrepreneurs, have your thing. You've got to remember that paying for certain things helps you generate money or frees up time. Paying for other things do not. Having a good bookkeeping system and accounting system is actually going to make you money. And let me explain. Because yes, you feel like it's an expense. You're putting that extra couple $100 out a month. But if you pay $200 a month, say if it's $200 a month, say even if you're only making $3,000 a month, let's just say, right? Let's just say small in your business, but you spend $200 out of that, which is a big percentage out of what you do, but you just pay a bookkeeper. Well, now you can spend your time and energy focusing on your skill set and what you're good at. So you're not getting lost in the numbers in the book, getting overwhelmed, and then just tracking things wrong or not tracking them at all, right? Like a lot of us have done when we started. But what more importantly, that bookkeeper, when they have those numbers and they send you over that report, you're going to see where missing money is. Maybe someone hasn't paid you, right? Which you're going to miss because you're in the day-to-day. Maybe you're missing a payment. Maybe there's opportunities that you've been paying for a software or a tool that you're just like, you look on the sheet like, why am I paying this $100 a month subscription, right? Well, wow. If you find one of those, you've just paid for half your bookkeeping. And so we got to look at building a business is not just like trying to do everything ourselves. It's trying to really focus on our skill sets, what we're good at, what we're influencers in, or what we're able to do, and then outsource as much of the stuff as possible. So I think the first thing any business owner should be outsourcing is their tracking of their money, of their numbers, but not outsourcing as in like you don't look. Outsourcing as they do the tangible stuff, the bookkeeping, helping manage it, but you need to be on it every single month with that person, getting a report that you view and see. Now you're going to know your numbers. You're going to know if there's missing invoices, and you're going to be able to collect that money. And there's not many things in this world I will guarantee, but I would guarantee that if you have a good bookkeeping and you have that, you're going to find money and make money, and they will pay for themselves 10, 20-fold, right? Because of that scenario. Would you agree with that, Irf?
Oh, without a doubt. There's so many examples I can give you of where even in our firm we've gone out and helped a client that we had one client that was using Stripe payments as going to the wrong account. $40,000 later, they realized that it was gone, but we were able to actually find it instead of letting that issue linger. And that's what they had collected over a span of a couple of weeks. We had another instance where the lawyer money was transferred through a lawyer, and the lawyer didn't pay all of the money to the client that they were supposed to. And that was something we were able to find. So there's numerous examples where you're either saving money by doing good bookkeeping because you can find unnecessary expenses, you find missing money. It's very easy for all of that transactions to be missed as you grow your business.
Yeah, totally. That's crazy. And for me, I want you guys to build big, successful businesses. I believe fully, and I know Irf does this as well, is that entrepreneurship is an answer to so much of our world problems and issues and things like that. The more clarity you have in the business, the more things you could be doing that you're passionate about, the more life-changing opportunities that you guys are going to have out there. And so that's something that I think is super important for us to remember. And so getting rid of some of these stresses and these scenarios in our business and prioritizing the things that really matter is super important, guys. And so that's kind of where I want to sit. And I'll show you, I'll give you guys an example. I'm going to get up because I'm going to show you what we all want to be able to build. Currently right now, I'm in Vegas. And so when I look out into this vast world of like these massive corporations and businesses that have built significant wealth in what they're doing, right? A lot of these people, they were never able to build companies and have things as big as it is out there right now without having their systems in place, without understanding their numbers, without looking at things like this and saying, hey, like,
what does it cost to, you know, have this expense of this massive water at the Bellagio that goes off every 15 minutes, but that thing actually brings in revenue into that business. And so I think for us, when we're looking at these big things, I love it here just because it's grandiose everywhere that you go. And when I look at that, I see, hey, how do we build things of significance? And I know Irf and what he does in the accounting and his passion for it is help people build something of significance. And so I just wanted to just impart that. It's like, wow, there's big things up there and you don't have to be there right away. But to get there, all of those buildings that are out there, all of those businesses that are, you know, subset because of that are built off of a solid foundation. And I truly believe that you're having your accounting and your systems and your financials in place are going to help you launch and really help you build what you're looking for. So, Irf, any final words or thoughts on this topic?
No, for sure. Like you said, like accounting is the foundation of any business. So as much as people sometimes want to run from it, it's the first thing you should be running towards. Track your numbers, be diligent on it, be on top of it. You don't have to do it alone. There's lots of people out there that can help, including us. Just make sure you're getting it done at the end of the day.
I love it. So if you guys want to reach out to Irf, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and they want to like maybe talk about bookkeeping or learn a little bit of how to structure their business, that type of stuff?
For sure, yeah. So you can always visit our website, accountantscalgary.com. You can also email us. I'm Moledina at rmiassociates.com. And you can reach us by phone, 403-457-4232.
Awesome. So a couple of ways. And then also just DM us. As you all know, we do these Finance Fridays every Friday at 1:30 Mountain Standard Time. And we're here to give you guys tips and ideas and thoughts and have an open conversation where you guys can come, ask questions, get those answers. And so please DM us, message us if you have any topics you'd like us to talk about. If you have any follow-up questions after you watch these replays and you want to maybe have a conversation with Irf or myself more about building and growing your business, we would love to have those conversations with you. And just so you all know, again, we have 3 events at home with Kardia. We have our Mondays Mindsets going on. That's just fantastic, amazing. Come and join that. It's ran by Carol, my partner and queen and business partner, as well as Margarita. They have interviews with different influencers and different people in that space, and it's a great place to come. Wednesdays, we have Wonder Wednesdays. It's at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it is a show. We have a visual as well as a vocal artist that play music, do art. We had someone making cake one time, an art cake, and that was fantastic. So come out and join us on that as well. And then obviously as you're on Finance Fridays. Kardia, we are here to serve and support you guys. We want to make a massive difference in the financial industry and beyond that. And that's one of the ways that we're wanting to be able to do that. Supporting local artists, supporting local businesses like Irf's, and really just having a place that you guys can come to get educated, learn, but also have some fun and get your mindset as well as your pocketbooks in order. So welcome. Thank you guys for all coming and joining us in today. Thank you, Irf, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to help serve and support entrepreneurs that are watching this. We appreciate you too.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun, and we will be in talk with you soon.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.